Hello and welcome to this episode of The Scoreboard. I'm your host, Maddie Evans. Now we've got a good show in store for you as we're going to be talking to two fantastic local athletes here in the Vail Valley. Paralympian Thomas Walsh and U.S. snowboard cross member SENNA LEITH. And then we're going to be talking why it's important to maintain your gear and keep it in tip-top shape to enjoy the ski season. And I'm going to personally show you how embarrassed I should be because my gear is not very well maintained. But before we get into all of that, we're going to take a minute to really talk about all the sports taking place right now in our community, and especially those Battle Mountain Huskies. The Battle Mountain High School girls and boys basketball team is on the road this week, facing Eagle Valley on Tuesday and Glenwood Springs on Friday. The boys hockey team is in action on Tuesday as well. And the boys wrestling triangular also takes place on Tuesday. Best wishes to the Huskies from everyone here at the Scoreboard. We have to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to jump into meeting some great athletes. We get to have so many great locals that come out of the Vail Valley, and one of them is a Paralympian skier who is traveling and really on the hustle right now, and so I'm so excited to introduce everyone to Thomas Walsh. Thomas, where are you right now?
I am currently sitting here in a hotel in Åre, Sweden, where I have some World Cup races going on. I took the long 9-hour bus ride from Norway here yesterday, where I competed in our World Championship competitions. And just skiing here in Scandinavia, learning to ski in the dark, under the lights, in the early morning. It's been an awesome experience, and this is a part of the world that I've never been to, so getting to freeze my butt off in a new place is awesome.
Oh, well, before you said that you hadn't seen the sunlight in about a week. That must be so challenging, not only for the skiing, but also just as a dynamic shift with like when you're awake and when you're asleep. So there's a lot that goes into it for you.
Absolutely. We get off the plane and have to deal with the time change in the first place, and then not seeing the sun for a full week. I've skied at night before, but coming to this part of the world where the sun doesn't come up till 9:30 and it sets at 3:45. So really having to get used to the darkness, adjusting those schedules is totally a new thing, and it's been an eye-opening, challenging, and wonderful experience all at the same time.
And how many competitions have you been in? How many ski races since you left Vail last?
Since I left Vail, I have competed in all of our World Championship competitions. I ended up competing in all of the events, including downhill, Super G, Super Combined, GS, Slalom, and the parallel event. And then here in Sweden, upcoming, I have a few races, 2 Super G, a Slalom, and a GS race. And this trip for us in Team USA is really our last kind of trial run before we enter our Paralympic team training camp before the upcoming Paralympics in Beijing.
So Super G and downhill, those are kind of newer disciplines, especially the downhill for you, correct?
Yes, I am not a bigger human. I compete more in the tech events like Slalom and GS. But I've kind of found some stride in those disciplines. It takes a lot of time to do that, but I've enjoying the challenge. I'm learning a lot. I think I'm going to have a little bit more success in the Super G. But when I get in the start gate and there's an Austrian guy ahead of me 2 feet taller than me, and behind me some German dude another foot taller than me, I'm kind of there to learn and experience what that's like. So taking those skills from my technical skiing into the speed has been proven successful, and hopefully I can take some lessons vice versa.
I mean, I've been following your Instagram, obviously, to kind of keep up with you. And when I saw that you were doing the downhill, I was so excited for you, only because, oh man, that like gives me butterflies just thinking about that event.
It is definitely spooky how fast they get going. I have to kind of balance my risk versus reward of, do I want to potentially injure myself, or God forbid something goes wrong in the speed events before the technical event. But really just trying to kind of diversify that race portfolio. I know I'm at a disadvantage again on certain hills because of my size, but I've loved it, and I think I'm going to try and continue, especially with the Super G.
So in the competitions that you've been in recently, what has been the biggest highlight so far and kind of the biggest setback?
Yeah, I really liked it over here. Getting back to the kind of the world stage and around all the other nations has been wonderful. we've had to deal with obviously the whole new protocols with COVID and that kind of, bubble isolation. It's been a trial run with some positives, some successes, some, learning experiences regarding that. But the skiing, had its ups and downs. I performed decently well. Not quite where I want to be in comparison to my fellow competitors and as for results. However, really trying to focus on this next coming period I have before the big show. So it's all positive and knowing that I have what it is to get there.
I'm like over the moon for you right now and all of the exciting things that you get to do and a little bit living vicariously through you. So if people want to be able to follow you and see exactly what you're doing and where you are, what's the best place for them to see and kind of get these real-time updates?
So I am very active on Instagram, on my social media, at @TWalnuts with a Z. Also, Team USA and World Para-Alpine Skiing, all very good places for Paralympic skiing, my team, and some of my personal news on there.
Thomas, thank you so much for taking the time out of your crazy traveling schedule to just chat with me and kind of give me an update with what you're doing. I'm so excited to see you as you progress forward in your season and seeing what's coming down the pipeline for you, and I hope to check in with you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and I'll see you back at home soon.
I can't wait. Make sure that you check out Thomas Walsh and all that he's doing because it's so incredible right now. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show. We've got so many great athletes that come out of the Vail Valley, and yet here we are talking with another one, a U.S. ski team snowboard cross athlete. Now, this is an intense sport, and I'm really excited to introduce everyone to SENNA LEITH. SENNA, thank you for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited that we were able to connect.
I mean, where are you right now? You've been kind of all over the place.
Gosh, I mean, the travel this year has been pretty wild. We've been in China, we've been in like Eastern Russia, out in the middle of nowhere, all over Europe, but I'm coming to you live from Cortina in Italy, actually.
I mean, so you're thousands and thousands of miles away from home. And for people that don't know what snowboard cross is, can you just give us like crash course definition?
100%. Well, it's like one of the easiest sports to kind of understand because as with all racing sports, it's just about getting across the line as fast as you can, except you're usually with either 3 other people or 5 other people. And the gate drops and then it's a series of rollers, jumps, bank turns, and it's just kind of a battle against you and all your other racers to who can get across the line first. And it's kind of like a bracket system. So the top 2 advancing from each heat just kind of keep moving up, and then eventually there's a final. So it's similar to motocross, except on snowboards.
I mean, it's pretty intense. If one person goes down, then you're all going down.
Yeah, I mean, you never want it to go that way, but unfortunately crashes happen and the mayhem happens frequently. But you're racing with a lot of people that are kind of like your really good friends, and you start to know everybody's riding style. So it's not as wild as it might look on TV sometimes, because you can actually kind of predict how everybody's going to ride, which is kind of an aspect that not everybody knows.
And so as an athlete that came from the Vail Valley, how is it that you got into snowboard cross instead of one of the many other disciplines in snowboarding that you could have picked?
I remember when I was young, I was a skateboarder, and everybody, I mean, there was like the snowboarding craze in like the early 2000s. Like, gosh, I want to be a snowboarder. Like I was skiing at the time when I was like 4, and chair 12. And I was like, I want to snowboard. And finally, when I turned 7, I was able to get on a snowboard, and I haven't actually been on skis since. And was lucky. I was in the Devo program as a young kid, and kind of got pushed to do a couple of like the little local competitions, and eventually kind of moved into the USASA series and got introduced to all the different disciplines and competed in everything until I was 14, 15. And that's kind of when I was like, I kind of want to specialize in snowboard cross. It was what I enjoyed the most and the discipline that I was kind of best at and what came natural to me, and was able to get on a private team that was able to kind of help me climb the ranks through the Continental Cup tours until the point on the World Cup tour, which is where I am now.
I mean, you've had a crazy traveling schedule, and so with the traveling, what trials and tribulations have you seen this season specifically?
I mean, COVID is the biggest hurdle for like the last year and a half. I mean, I remember like when the pandemic started and we were all traveling with COVID and we'd be the only ones on planes. And it's not like there were private planes for us. There were these planes, but nobody was allowed to travel. And we were fortunate enough to have these, travel waivers and like letters from countries that would let us in. And so we were over in Europe training and competing when nobody was able to. And so COVID has definitely brought a lot of hurdles, and within our team, we're kind of in little individual bubbles just in case somebody gets positive. You weren't socializing with the whole team. So there's been a lot of dynamics in the COVID era of traveling and competing that are none of us were used to or really quite ready for, but we've had to adapt to and kind of make the best of it. And it's almost weird because it's kind of normal now. You're going on 2 years of being isolated and only kind of hanging with like 2 teammates at a time. And yeah, but I'm still super fortunate to be able to do what I'm doing and to travel during the pandemic as much as we have.
I mean, it's a brutal situation completely all around, right? And then not only that, but you're trying to stay healthy and stay fit and stay active so that you can compete at your highest level when you're out there in places like Italy right now competing. And so I can only imagine the stress that the COVID brings. So when you come home to Vail, what do you do to stay in shape for your season?
Well, I mean, the physical component of it is huge, being able to maintain your fitness on the road. And I mean, most of what I do on the road is I travel with a lot of bands and stuff like that, or like a TRX system. And I'm doing all these workouts by myself in my hotel room. It's kind of the mental toughness, but it's nice when I can get back to Vail and go to my local gym and kind of have distance from people. So I'm not paranoid about who I'm around, and staying on my physical fitness as much as I can when I'm at home in Vail. It's kind of like what I look forward to is when I get back to Vail, I can kind of have a little bit more space, a little bit more breathing room to maintain those aspects of my training.
And then how do you keep your mental head clear as you're getting ready for these like big competitions and you're traveling and your sleep schedule is being flipped and flopped in every direction?
I mean, my sleep schedule's been on a roller coaster this year. I mean, where we went in Russia was like some of the toughest travel I've ever had. I hadn't experienced jet lag like that ever before in my life. It was pretty wild, but a big thing that helps me kind of maintain my mental sanity on the road is I practice photography. And so I just kind of go on walks with my camera and go take pictures of the mountains and try to kind of connect with the culture wherever I'm going. And that's something that kind of helps ground me and keep me in the right headspace no matter where I'm at. It's like the one constant I can bring with me. It's my passion outside of snowboarding that I can incorporate into my travels and kind of help me remind myself who I am and keep myself happy.
Yeah, constantly keep your brain working as well as your body, which I think is so important.
100%. If you're just thinking about the competition, everything like that, like the stress can just like be crumbling. So if you have this outlet of where you can kind of be creative and focus on another aspect of your life on the road, it's really awesome.
And if people are interested in following you and seeing where you are and what you're doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm pretty active on Instagram. Just at SENNA LEITH, SENNA LEITH. That's the best way to kind of follow along with what I'm doing daily. And on the road, I try to keep it updated as much as I can. Yeah, definitely social media. I'm all over it. So easy to find.
And what's the big competition that you're in Italy for right now?
We're here for the Snowboard Cross World Cup at Cortina. It's our first time having a World Cup here, which is pretty exciting. They had the Ski World Cup here last week for Super G. So when we were actually kind of freeride around, we were able to go down that slope, which is so steep and gnarly, and the downhill slope. It's like, you guys are nuts, but they probably look at what we're doing. It's kind of nuts too. Our course here is pretty rowdy. We have training tomorrow. Yeah, I'm excited. It's a beautiful place here in the Dolomites, a place I've never been before, and I'm excited to get out there and give it my all.
Any challenges on this course that you're a little bit worried about? Turns, rollers, anything that is kind of throwing you for a loop?
Well, so today was course testing, which is like when a couple select athletes that kind of like volunteer themselves a little bit, kind of get to be the guinea pigs on the course. And usually it goes super smoothly. And today was like not smooth. It was like, the course is a little gnarly. It's like, you're definitely a little scared to drop into it tomorrow. A couple of the jumps are pretty fast and got some kick to them. So you got to make sure that you're ready and prepared for whatever the speed's going to be like tomorrow. And it's actually going to be a night race here. So tomorrow we have a training in the morning during the day to kind of get into the course. But then tomorrow night, we also have a session where it's training at night underneath the lights. So we know what that's going to be like for the following day on race day.
I have so many questions for you now that you've just opened this can of worms for racing at night. Are there just a whole different trial and tribulation going into racing at night because it's dark and
I actually love it.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's just like a kind of a cool dynamic where we were in Russia, was up in Siberia. And so like the sun didn't rise until 10. So it was kind of like racing in the night a little bit because we had to have lights on the course.
Yeah.
But here there's like really good lights, and the light today was a little bit flat. So there's actually going to be kind of better visibility at night, I think, with the lights and how it can contrast in the snow. So I think that's going to be good, but I kind of love the energy of competing at night because it's kind of electric and different and something that we're not totally used to. I've only ever done one night race, and it was in Moscow, Russia back in 2018. And it was awesome. I remember being like, God, this is so cool. You're like underneath the lights. It reminded me of the Honda sessions as I was a little kid back in Vail, way back in the day, which was like a big snowboard competition at the time. And I remember going like watching underneath the lights, and I never had an experience of competing in that kind of setting. So I don't know. I like it. It's a cool dynamic.
Oh my gosh, Senna, I'm so excited to see what the rest of the season holds for you and see what's coming down the pipeline as you continue into your season. And then you're going to be home soon, and you can just join me on the couch.
Let's do it. I'm excited. Back to my favorite place in the world. I mean, I love traveling, but there's no place I love more than Vail. It's home, and it's a really special place, and I always look forward to coming back.
I mean, we look forward to having you back and, like I said, keeping up with what you're doing this season. So thank you again for chatting with me this morning here in Vail, but your afternoon and the crazy time difference and everything.
I'm glad it worked out, and thank you much for having me on, and I'm looking forward to connecting when I'm back in Colorado.
I look forward to that as well. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the Scoreboard. We're going to be talking all things making sure your gear is in the best shape possible. And unfortunately, these are my personal skis, and I'm a little bit sad about the shape that they're in. But I skied these skis early season, and then I ski these skis on the days it snows. So they haven't seen a lot of love recently on the snow, which is good because they're in pretty bad shape. There's some things that are wrong here that I need to address that I'm going to do. After we get done with this segment, I'll go and I'll make sure that I take proper care of my skis. But I'm going to start with the ski here in the front. So this ski is the ski that I ski early season, and right now it has a core shot in it, which means that there's a shot all the way in the base of the ski down to the wood. And the only issue with this is you have to get this filled before you can continue to ski on it. You can see it right here. Because if I were to go skiing on this and allow moisture to get into that base, a lot of skis have a wood core base and snowboards. Allowing that moisture to get in there can ruin that wood and make it a little bit rotten. So it's really important that I go get that filled. And then of course, as I was like looking at it and it's right on the edge, then I was feeling my edges, and you can definitely tell that I've skied over some things and I need to get these edges nice and smoothed out. Or what that does is it makes it harder for you to just like make those nice, mellow, easy turns out on the slopes, because you can catch your edge quicker and a lot harder, which can lead to some nice spills, which I have definitely taken those recently. The ski behind, I'm going to talk about, it needs some wax. It needs a little bit of TLC up here. You can see it has a super dry base. And now the thing about dry bases is it's going to slow you down. The wax helps you glide on that snow a lot better. And so there are some tips and tricks you need to know before you take your skis to get waxed. And these are really important because it'll just make your turnaround time honestly a lot faster. Skis have a porous base just like your skin is porous. So if you're out there and obviously you're putting lotion on your cold face, that lotion's not going to absorb on your face as well. So it's just like that with your skis. So when you go to wax your skis, you want to make sure that what you're doing is you're allowing them to get to room temperature before you put that wax on the base. I personally like to wax my own skis, and when I do that, I let them get to room temperature. And then of course, I let them sit with the wax in there, just like you would sit with that lotion on your skin. You wouldn't wipe it off right away. So I need to definitely take some better care of my equipment right now because they're in pretty bad shape with how beat up the edges are, and then of course those dry bases. And it's really important that you do this just to keep your gear in that great shape to make it last a little bit longer, because it's important that you can keep your skis for a long time. And I have normally taken very good care of these skis. These skis are from 2016. They're one of my favorite pairs, so I definitely try and keep up with the maintenance of them, but sometimes life just slips away from you. So this is our friendly reminder for you to get out there and just make sure that you're taking good care of all of your equipment. Now, there are so many great ski shops around the valley for you to do that. Whether you don't want to do it yourself, just be prepared for that 24-hour turnaround service at a lot of locations, and sometimes people all just tend to take their stuff at once, especially when it starts snowing or the temperatures start changing. There are 3 different types of wax. There's a warm snow wax, there's a cold snow wax, and then there's a universal wax. I personally like to make a cocktail of waxes when I wax my skis, just so that I know I can use them in most conditions. So make sure that you're taking care of your equipment and go see one of the great local ski shops that we have around the valley to get everything nice and dialed in, because like I said, I think I'm gonna have to take both of these bad boys and get them nice and groomed up so that I can get out on the slopes with them this weekend. Well, we're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the Scoreboard. Welcome back to the Scoreboard. I'm your host, Maddie Evans. What an incredible show we've had, and we want to thank Thomas Walsh and SENNA LEITH for sitting down and catching up with us and giving us all the information on their crazy endeavors. We want to congratulate and wish the best of luck to all of the local athletes from the Vail Valley that are going further in their careers and moving in on competition. If you have any ideas, or you would like to contribute or host the Scoreboard at all, to join us, make sure that you send an email to comments@tv8vail.com, or if you want to catch up on some old episodes of the Scoreboard or see what we've got coming down the pipeline, you can go to thescoreboardnation.com as well. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll see you next time right here on the Scoreboard.